great ideas that inspire stories that thousands, if not millions of people out there tell each other and enjoy it, and ultimately they fall in love with brands or companies. My name is Attila Johnson. I work for Merck. And my job, if I may sum it up, it is about triggering, inspiring big ideas that ultimately translate into stories that get told around and earn love for brands in the healthcare industry. Except for the yellow umbrella, the territory looks like in healthcare mostly dark. It's the dark side of power. There's dull stories. It's a little scientific. There's not much really to get excited about because people take themselves very seriously. It's about life or death, and therefore pass on also the message to others that you could not be talking about emotions. It is almost not allowed to get out there and to create love. What we have found out about 4 years ago when I joined the company is we have looked into creating some data also to trigger some maybe spontaneous reactions, some controversial conversations amongst the people, amongst the marketeers in the industry, but specifically within the company, as to what brand love means and how it translates in some research also into consumers' reactions, okay? So in 2013, there was a quantitative study placed in Canada with college students that have been exposed to a brand that they're almost in love with, that they're very strongly attracted to, and their heart actually slowed down temporarily, literally skipping a beat, very, very similar to the reaction that the same students have given to somebody they said they were in love with. This was a piece of data that has actually helped me also to get started a discussion within the company as to how it is possible and give inspiration to people fall in love, people with that I mean consumers, but also healthcare professionals, be it the doctors or pharmacists out there. I've just picked out an example from my daily life with competitors out there. This is in the cold category. You may be seeing this is a little dry from the looks of it. A lot of science out there talking about what are the ingredients. A little bit repetitive, maybe too rational. So this is the environment in which we're trying to create love, create stories that people hopefully will talk to each other about, will be ultimately passing on the love about. A lot of the pushback in the category, and I know you guys are coming from different backgrounds, a lot of the pushback in the category is saying, you know, hey, some industries, they actually like the cars, bag industry, makeup, a lipstick is for a woman much more sexier than, you know, how fast you're going to be getting rid of your headache, right? So I believe that is not really the case, that you can create love also in the dullest categories, in the most serious categories. And I'm going to get started with an inspiration personally for myself and then move on to healthcare and specifically to examples from Merck. The inspiration for me after 12, 13 years ago continues to be from Unilever, from Dove. I remember in 2004, 2005, I used to work in Procter & Gamble in hair care, where 100% flake-free heads from Head & Shoulders or 50% less split hair from Pantene was absolutely smashing Dove, which is when they came up with the idea of actually verbalizing, enunciating their purpose, which is to go out there and support the average Jane, the average Joe against the beauty and fashion industry, to make them embrace their natural beauty and make them fall with themselves in love again. I'll show you, you guys may be remembering, and I know some of you are from Unilever in the group as well. It started out 12, 13 years ago with this little movie that was about showing the backstage of how beauty visuals are being developed, right? And how artificial it is, that it takes hours and hours and hours, and at the end, the little girl looks in front of the outdoor advertising and says, I'm so ugly, right? And this gave actually a starting point for the discussions, which then moved on, set up also, I believe it was a workplace where they have here identified themselves with you're average looking or you're beautiful, right? And they have told the story about a lot of the women entering through the door average, and then they're asked why, and they say, I am really average, and looking around, all the things that we're exposed to, I may not be as beautiful. And one of the most recent examples which I've picked up is about comparing how women describe themselves and how they look, and if they were expressed actually in graphics, what that would compare like versus how others describe them. So I have a short movie to give you some stimulus around how a great idea can, over decades even, stimulate great storytelling.
Dove has this mission of turning beauty into a source of confidence and not anxiety for a long time. The brand has always been about real women. What was really like a tipping point was around 2004 with Campaign for Real Beauty. And the latest part of this campaign is Real Beauty Sketches. Only 4% of the women in the planet think that they are beautiful. And it was really just an idea to bring an FBI-trained sketch artist and show the contrast between how women see themselves and how others see.
She looks closed off and fatter, sadder too.
Mm-hmm.
The second one looks more open, friendly, and happy.
Mm-hmm.
Hearing people describe themselves, maybe there's something about a feature that they don't really like about themselves. And I can sense that, they're kind of treading lightly on that.
We brought the best brains that we could reach from Google, from YouTube specifically, to have a conversation about how to find what were the best ways for more people to engage with the content. Conversations on YouTube to keep feeding the interest on the video. There are lots of people who come to me to say how many different times they have watched the video already. We are getting so much traction on YouTube. I mean, there are some incredibly large numbers. The intent was to create brand love and translate that brand love in a longer-term relationship between the audience and the brand. We need to take risks and try to create even more content that will be meaningful to people.
Okay, so this has been a personal inspiration for me. It's not the latest and greatest maybe, but it shows you that a great idea can actually give footage for great stories for over decades, and I'm sure it'll continue because it builds on a universal insight. This is a wake-up call also for myself. I'd like to now switch gears to some of the most recent stuff that we have been doing at Merck, and would like to get also some feedback from you also in the break, why not, or in the question and answer sessions we talk about. For example, this idea. So last year in Cannes, we have come out with our purpose. The purpose of the company, which 4,500 people are burning for, is to help out there the society, the institutions, to prepare the society for a new era where humans live 100 years. So over the past 60 to 70 years, the life expectancy of humans has picked up immensely around the world, but the institutions, companies, the healthcare industry is not at all ready for this. We have summed up kind of this purpose, this dream around the brand of We100. It talks about the belief that everyone on Earth should get the right and get the support to live 100 fantastic years on Earth. Ideally in a society where young and the old, they're not getting separated from each other, but they can actually learn from each other, benefit from each other. So from this purpose, I'm going to share with you two stories. One is for the elderly, integrating the elderly into the society, which is very, very relevant, for example, for the UK here, where a lot of people do not even get started with something new because they believe there may not be as much time left to enjoy that activity to make the best out of it. We have done research in the UK for sure, in Malaysia, in Germany, and also in South Africa to show that above 60 years, 50% of people have not experienced anything new over more than a year's time. Can you imagine how sad that must be if you don't get started with something new because you don't think that there may be enough time for you to enjoy that activity? So I'll show you now the story that triggers hopefully great discussions, with which I'm hoping one day to also shake hands with the Queen, who is a personal inspiration for me. She's 93 years old, but she doesn't hold back at all from any activities. So let's have a look at the movie.
A tuffarmi non ci penso nemmeno.
È uno sport molto tecnico che secondo me va iniziato da giovani, cioè da 70 anni.
Riprendetelo.
So hope you like it. So in the UK, this has actually sparked a volunteering program for all of our employees that go out there and match with elderly to help them, enable them to experience something new, which has already created, since the beginning of the month, a lot of great stories, both the young and the old, talking about what they have experienced together and how they made both of them feel and what they have learned from each other. And I'm very hopeful that, especially in developed countries, this is going to spark a movement for both inspiring the elderly, but also the young to join them to experience things together. The second idea that was spun from the very same purpose was to go to the other end of the spectrum, which is to children. In developing countries, the biggest worry is that children would be derailing from their first grades of education and doing things, making choices that are unhealthy, which will actually deprive them from their right to see 100 years. So if you think about some of the countries in the Southern African territory, the life expectation is about 50, 55 years. So we went out there to tell a story about different youngsters from 4th to 10th grade, about their choices and how they're actually choosing life to live longer and to hopefully inspire other discussions out there. Let's have a look at the movie and I'll tell you a little bit more about in market how this comes alive.
This is my life. This is my choice.
To use my body.
To use my mind.
What's your choice?
Are you fit or not?
Do you party with friends or with alcohol?
Do you eat well or junk?
Do you cheat a little or too much?
Do you FaceTime or family time? It's your life, it's your health, it's your choice.
To shape your future or to leave it to chance?
Are you ready to live to 100? You need to be, because we are the generation that will live longer than any other. We will live a healthy 100 years.
We are Gen 100.
Join our Gen 100 movement today.
Are you one of us?
So style-wise, this may be a little bit different to what you're used to. This movie, and in several versions also, this kind of storytelling by dancing and singing to it has worked really, really well with South African kids, 90% of which are of African, so Black African heritage. And this afternoon, actually at 1 o'clock, I'll be flying to Johannesburg to open a roadshow because we have been able to win the Ministry of Education, and we will start out with the start of the new year in 40 schools, the Gen 100 program, with a course that is officially introduced also as Healthy Hour, that is all about making the right choices. And we're hoping to create great, great stories, which maybe also next year I can come back and tell you about. Another example is from the pregnancy vitamins category. So this is a category where the market is actually flooded with other German and Swiss and North American companies with fantastic formulations where it is going to be hard to differentiate yourself. So here, the purpose of the brand is a source of inspiration for us as it relates to talking to mothers, wannabe mothers, but also professionals, pharmacists and doctors. It's about creating a society, a children-loving society, where a woman who wants to become a mom do not see like there is going to be hindrance for their career. And specifically, the idea is to getting recognized motherhood as a qualification to be proud of. How many working mothers are there in the room? Fantastic. Do you like the idea actually to turn around the motherhood and career and talking about it in the context of career as something very positive? So this is the core of the idea that that leads to a lot of storytelling, great storytelling. We have actually started out here also to iconize it with the M+, which is a branding, so to speak, for this new thought, for this new belief, is a flag for the fighters out there to fight for the rights of moms. The part that has led to a lot of stories is when we have asked about 30 leaders in the industry, mothers who have had a fantastic career, what difficulties they may have had, what were the experiences when they came out, when they planned for a child, talked to their loved ones, went to the company, what was the reactions, did they feel good about it, bad about it, etc. So as of June, this is going to come out. And we have also been able to, in the same spirit, convince LinkedIn to use the M+ as an official sign for those who choose to indicate their motherhood as a qualification, if you will, for their ability to set priorities, to think big, time management, and everything. So I'm really, really personally excited about. I'm going to show to you a short tweet, which we went out there actually as a learning market to find out what are the reactions and actually sharpen the proposition last year in Austria. It's a country of 8 million people, and there were millions of reactions and hundreds of thousands of comments, which have encouraged us to continue. Let's have a look.
Hello, thanks for coming in.
I'm not quite sure why I'm here.
It's just a little chat, nothing to be worried about.
Okay.
I was just going through your CV and noticed that you hadn't put maternity leave on it, and I wondered why that was.
I guess in some ways I felt that it's not relevant to my CV in the sense that it's not work.
When I thought about it, I didn't even think to put my maternity in there.
There's a worry that if you take some time out for maternity leave, that you will be perceived as being behind others that didn't take the time out.
So you don't think that you learnt any valuable skills during maternity leave?
I think having a child and raising a child is one of the hardest jobs and one of the best jobs in the world. It's sad that I feel that I can't put that on my CV.
So I've got a little message from your boss I'd like you to hear.
Okay.
Would you just press play for me, please?
Hi Lauren, I've never told you this and it's remiss of me, but I just wanted to tell you personally how you've not just grown in your job but excelled since returning to work.
The time you've taken off to raise your family has had a profound and positive effect on your job.
Many would expect a year off to be a digression, but you seem to have come back as Tamsin 2.0.
You're even more focused, your multitasking skills seem better than ever.
It's clear to me that the experience of being a mother has embellished your performance at work, and it should be seen as, you know, another crucial and very positive stage in your drive to the top of your profession.
And hopefully you will carry on with more years. Thank you.
That's so nice. Set me off again. That's really nice.
That's lovely. Oh, that makes me feel much better, much better hearing that.
Maybe the fears that I had before I didn't need to have at all.
It's like a therapy session. Of course it should be on there. Yeah.
Exactly. So we have been able to convince LinkedIn, so I'm hoping that there's going to be more others out there that are going to recognize and stimulate and invite all of you have this kind of stories. And I invite also husbands, fathers, and also managers to be part of the story, because it takes a lot also from the managers, from colleagues to support mothers in pursuing their careers. The next example I wanted to show is probably from one of the darkest umbrellas out there that I've shown you. It's from the nerve care category. So vitamin B complexes, what they actually do is nourishing, taking care of the nerves, and removing actually the very discomforting feelings that people get as of 50, maybe 6 years old, because they can't absorb vitamin B as well. Okay. So how exciting is this story to you? Right. So that's why I'm calling it one of the darkest umbrellas, which we're trying to turn into the yellow umbrella out there. So in India, we have started a project to find out about stories behind people who are suffering with deficiency of vitamin B and therefore need a special nerve care. And we have realized that there is a huge population out there that have been culturally indoctrinated to sacrifice themselves for the next generation, for the loved ones. And a lot of heartbreaking stories around, the little bit of money that I have, I'm not going to go to the doctor, although I know that I have numbness or tingling in my fingers that holds me actually back from doing my job well or functioning well, but I'd rather invest into the education of my daughter, of my son. And as we were thinking about, these stories and how to connect it also in some way with nerve care so that we can invite those people to go out to the pharmacist, to the doctor, and being diagnosed, we came up with the idea of true heroes, that the true heroes of that country are not the Modis, are not the Tatas of India. They're actually a little bit, if I may call them, the underdogs. They do not earn that much, but they give the little bit that they have to their loved ones. So let's have a look at the movie that actually the Indian team themselves have put together for Cannes. This brand used to be stable, maybe growing 1 or 2 years until 4 years ago. The first 5 months of this year, behind this campaign, it has grown 20%, and it projects for the year to actually grow 18% versus last year. This very same idea we have rolled out in South Asia, and also in Latin America we're about to roll out. So have a look and hope you like it.
Everybody has dreams. Like little Aslam, who wants to become an engineer and build robots. But in India, the only chance to realize this dream is by involving sacrifice and hard work of those who stand behind these dreamers, the true heroes. Neurobion, the #1 vitamin brand in India, took up the responsibility to celebrate these unsung true heroes. As an innovative approach in the market, the campaign began with a touching TV commercial that told the story of an Indian father who works hard to make his little girl's dreams come true, and showed how Neurobion stands by him, helping him overcome body discomforts. Our message was spread in all media channels, revealing how these special people are not magicians. They are not supermen and women, but have a superpower: their unconditional love. A wall of gratitude was set up in various clinics to thank doctors who were an integral part of the campaign's success. The campaign also encouraged people to thank their own true hero at mytruehero.in. The selfless true heroes warmed the hearts of everybody in India and made it to the national news. Due to its success, the campaign was implemented in Southeast Asia. and now has become a global campaign, helping true heroes all over the world.
So this was the fourth example that I wanted to share with you. The summary of it all is I would like to encourage you to think about if you want to create love for your brand, you need to tell heart-opening, engaging stories. And a lot of the time, if you get pushback from whichever area you are, some of you have said, you know, you may be also in areas where this emotional engagement, love, may be as far away as you can imagine. You're only restricted by your own restrictions. So you need to go out there and engage and find that insight and find that story, find that idea that's going to lead to great stories. And finally, at the heart of each story that gets told, especially over decades, as in the example of Dove, there's a great big idea. So you as the marketeers are the ones that instigate that idea, that trigger that idea, that finds it out and celebrates it and make it much, much bigger. So this was the stimulus I brought for you. I know it's at 8 o'clock. Both for me to spread love and for you to receive love is very difficult, but thank you very, very much.